Hello, I'm Stoney Smith of Paragon 6. Welcome to Trigger Time TV, brought to you by Raven Concealment Systems. Hey there. In this episode, fellow Ranger Jim Gilliland discusses single versus double stage triggers. I'm curious what he has to say on the topic. Jim, it's all yours.
Hey folks, this is Jim Gilliland from Shadow 6 Consulting here with Dorgan Trossler. Now, on this episode, we want to talk about pretty much one thing, and that's triggers. And the reason why we're separating triggers out from everything else that we've been talking about, from positions and all this other kind of crazy stuff, is number one, and the four fundamentals, trigger control is the most important. And number two, the trigger is the last thing you as a human being has to affect on this mechanical process. So it's how you move it and how it breaks. It depends on how your shot turns out. So there are two types of triggers available on the market right now. And of those two, there's a single stage and there's a two stage. So in a single stage trigger is one that most of us are familiar with. It's as simple as it sounds. It is a single stage pull. Most of them are set at, a weight. You reach up, you press your finger on the trigger, and as you start moving it to the rear, once you get to that set stage or poundage, then it breaks. All right. Now, on this rifle, we've got a single stage Huber Concepts trigger. This is Melissa's Ashbury rifle that she shoots competition with. It has a 2.5 pound single stage trigger, which essentially means that when she puts her finger on the trigger, starts moving it to the rear, once she has 2.5 pounds of pressure on it, then that trigger is going to break, and it's going to release the steer, the firing pin is going to go forward. And that is called lock time. Lock time is the time it takes you to go from your finger on the trigger, your sear to break, your firing pin to move forward, and touch the primer. In professional athletes, a thousandth of a second can be a win or a lose, and it goes everything exactly just like it is here. A thousandth of a second doesn't seem like a whole lot of time, but when you're talking about placing your finger on the trigger, you're having to pull it to the rear, increasing the weight of your pull and increasing the ergonomics that you have on your rifle, and then breaking that shot. And then the entire lock time process, the powder burn, the bullet move down the barrel. If you move that barrel 1/8 of an inch, you could be feet off the target at distance. Now, the second time a trigger is called a two-stage trigger. Now, Dorgan, you've got a two-stage on your rifle.
Yes, I do. I have a Huber Concepts two-stage trigger. And a two-stage trigger essentially is your first stage, you have take-up, sometimes called slack. You have that take-up and you hit a wall. That first stage, the take-up, is usually around a pound. And once you get to the wall, you can have it Huber Concept set anywhere, as light as you want to as heavy as you want. I like 2 pounds. I told them 2 pounds, they set it 2 pounds. So I hit that second wall, and I know when this rifle's gonna fire. So I get on target, and I break it. It's really nice to have a two-stage trigger, because it takes the anticipation of your shot out. So I can be on a target, and you're talking about thousandths of a second. So if I'm swinging into a target, because you're never very stable when you want the perfect shot, I'm swinging into target. If it breaks a thousandth of a second later, I might miss the target completely and go right off the right side. I want it to break when I know it's going to break, and it works out better for everybody.
Absolutely. Now, not to take anything away from one-stage triggers, because it's what most of us use, what we all grown up with. It's what I still have on my competition rifle as well. We want to get you out there to let you see a little bit more about what's out there and equipment-wise, and to give you the pros and the cons of the two-stage trigger. If you do try to shoot a two-stage trigger, it's going to take you a few times to put your finger on the trigger and pull till it stops, and then feel that stop, and then to pull to break it. But the thousandth of a second that it takes you to move from that first stage to the second stage, clean your crosshair up that last time, and then break the shot, could be that thousandth of a second that makes all the difference in the world between that winning shot or that losing shot. Or it could mean all the difference in the world when you've got the one chance of a lifetime shot at a trophy animal and you're miserably cold in the rain. So environmentalists, what big deal is that?
When I shoot in the weather and it's really cold and I can't feel my finger, it's nice to have that first take-up so I know when the trigger's going to break. Again, it goes to anticipating the trigger. So if it's cold and I can't feel my finger, I can feel that wall. I can feel the stop, And so I know the trigger's going to fire as soon as I apply a little bit more pressure. 1 pound more pressure, boom, trigger breaks.
Absolutely. So get out on the range, try different things, and you never know. Things may work out for you, they may not, but you'll never know until you try. A 2-stage trigger is an amazing advancement in the abilities to shoot more accurately. It allows you to set your rifle up, get it exactly where you want, and then break that shot exactly when you intend to break it, and it's always a surprise, and that's what you're looking for in the end. So, get this stuff out to the range and try it out. Until next time, hunt the wolf and protect the flock.
Trigger Time TV is brought to you by Raven Concealment System, Troy Industries, Troy Defense, Legion Firearms, U.S. Optics, Meredith Rifle, Dark Angel, Keltec, Yeti, Crossbone, Wiley X, Vertex, Black Rain Ordnance, Huber Concepts, Tax Strike, and WW Guns.